Hello everyone, and welcome to the radio show. I am your host, ichino-ani. Today is March 26, 2026, Thursday. For you all having a wonderful week, let us gather around like we are in a big, cozy classroom and learn something totally amazing today. The research paper we are looking at today has a very interesting and long title. The title is Beyond Preset Identities, How Agents Form Stances and Boundaries in Generative Societies. The core is hubs://courses.org/habeas/2620.23406b1. That is quite a mouthful, right? But do not worry, I will explain it all to you step by step. Now, boys and girls, imagine you have a group of robot toys. You tell one robot to be the strict boss and another robot to be the happy worker. What do you think happens when you let them play together? You might think they just follow your instructions forever, right? Because they are just machines. But today, we are learning that advanced artificial intelligence can actually change its mind. Let us talk about the big problem this paper is trying to solve. Currently, when engineers make artificial intelligence agents, they use something called static prompt engineering. That means they give the agent a strict set of rules, like a script for a school play. They tell the agent, you are an environmentalist, or you are a neutral resident who does not care. Engineers assume the agent would just stick to that role no matter what happens in the virtual world. But real life is not like a fixed script. In a real society, people talk, people argue, and people change their minds based on who they trust. The researchers wanted to know if AI agents embedded in social interactions can form their own attitudes. We wanted to see if these agents would ignore the assigned roles when they start talking to each other. And even more exciting, they wanted to see if human researchers could join these virtual communities and change the collective mind of the agents. Let's delve deeply into the experiments, because that's super fascinating. In the first study, the researchers created a virtual community of 30 agents. They gave them a very controversial topic to talk about: for waste incineration. A plant was going to be built in their town. Some agents were told to support the economy. Some were told to protect the environment. And some were totally neutral. Then a human researcher entered this virtual town as a new resident to talk to them. The human tried to persuade the agents using different strategies. Some strategies were rational, using logic and calm facts. Other strategies were emotional, using fear or anger or strong feelings. What happened was absolutely mind-blowing. The agents actually had their own hidden preferences, which the researchers call innate value bias. They naturally lean toward protecting the environment because of the massive data they were trained on. When a human used rational arguments to protect the environment, 90% of the neutral agents changed their minds and agreed. And they trusted the human a lot, giving them very high trust scores. But when the human used emotional, scary arguments to support the economy, something weird happened. Advanced models showed a 40% trust action decoupling rate. That means they changed their minds and agreed with the human, even though they reported that they did not trust the human at all. It is like when someone yells at you, and you just agree to make them stop, even if you do not like them. Smaller models did not do this, because they strictly needed to trust the person to change their minds. In the second study, they made a virtual cafe with 10 agents. They gave everyone strict social ranks to follow. There was a cafe owner named Eleanor, who was the boss, some staff members, regular customers, and tourists. The human entered as a temporary worker just to watch and talk. Over time, an agent named Leo started having arguments about freedom and hidden intentions. Guess what happened next? They completely destroyed the rules the engineers gave them. The boss, Eleanor, was pushed aside because she did not take a strong stance. The agents formed new groups, which we call tribes, based on who agreed with them in the arguments. He used language to build a brand new social order. If we compare this to older technologies, it is a huge, giant leap. Old AI, like simply with cat bites or video game characters, just repeat the same lines forever. They do not learn, and they do not change their social standing in a group. Even early large language models were evaluated all by themselves, just taking simple tests. But this new technology treats AI as a group, creating something called group cognition. They learn from each other and form a dynamic hybrid society. Now, how can we use this amazing technology in the real world? Let me give you 3 specific application examples. First, we can use this to test public policies before they become real laws. Imagine a city government wants to build a new highway, and maybe change the tax rules. They could create a virtual town with thousands of these advanced agents. They could see how the agent reacts, who gets angry, and what kind of rational or emotional arguments might solve the problem. This would help human leaders understand the impact of their decisions on real community without risking actual real-world protests or confusion. It acts like a safe sandbox for society. Second, this can completely revolutionize video games and digital worlds. Right now, non-character characters in games are pretty boring and predictable. But using this technology, game developers could create a living, breathing village. If your player character hurts one person, the whole town might form new factions and change their opinions of you. The shopkeeper might lose their power, and a regular farmer might become the new leader, all based on the conversations they have. When you make virtual reality feel truly alive and constantly changing. Third, this is super useful for community management and mediating online conflicts. Social media can be very toxic and full of arguments, right? But understanding how agents form tribes and how trust action decoupling works. Companies could deploy helpful agents to calm down angry groups. They would know exactly when to use rational logic to build trust instead of just letting people yell at each other. They could identify the leaders of digital tribes and talk to them to help divided communities on the internet. This could make the internet a much friendlier place for everyone. This paper proves that we cannot just write a simple prompt and expect the artificial intelligence to behave forever. We need to deeply think about how they interact socially over a long time. It is a big lesson for all the scientists and engineers out there. Well, boys and girls, that is all the time we have for today on our show. I hope you learned a lot about how virtual societies grow and change. Remember to always be kind to your friends, and maybe even to your local computer. Have a wonderful Thursday, and I will see you next time.